Your child is standing in a shop, pointing at something, and the words coming out of their mouth are, "I need that." Sound familiar? Here is something remarkable. By the time a child turns 4, they're genuinely ready to understand that what they just said is not quite right. And that one small distinction, the difference between a need and a want, is the seed of almost every good money habit they will ever grow. Today, we're going to show you how to plant it in the most ordinary moments of your day. Let's start with the research because it is genuinely encouraging. A peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Child Language by Cambridge University Press found that 3-year-olds could not yet reliably tell the difference between the words need and want. But 4- and 5-year-olds could, significantly and consistently. In that same study, 4- and 5-year-olds were far more likely to give something to a character who said they needed it over one who said they wanted it. They understood not just the words, but what those words mean in the real world. Your 4-year-old is not too young for this. The window is open. The OECD, one of the most respected international organizations working on education and economics, says that financial education should begin in early childhood, and that one of the foundational skills for primary-age children is learning to tell needs apart from wants. As of our last check on the 22nd of July, 2026, that guidance is firmly in place. And here is a gap worth knowing about. An OECD report from 2024 found that only 2 in 3 students had been exposed to school tasks exploring the difference between spending on needs versus wants. That means roughly 1 in 3 children reach their school years without ever having worked through this idea in a classroom setting. You at home can close that gap before it even opens. So before we get to the practical scripts, let us lock in the definition you will use every single time. A need is something a person must have to be safe and healthy: food, clean water, shelter, clothing that keeps them warm. A want is something you would enjoy, something that makes life nicer, but that you can live without. Simple, consistent. Use these exact words every time, so your child hears the same language in every situation. Now let us go to the grocery store because it is one of the richest classrooms you will ever walk into with your child. Pick up 2 items, say a bag of rice and a packet of sweets. Hold one in each hand and ask, which one does our body need to be healthy? And which one would just be nice to have? Then wait. Let them answer before you do. That pause matters more than you might think. Child development research consistently shows that young children think in concrete terms. They learn through physical objects and real-world examples far more than through abstract explanations. Holding 2 actual items in 2 actual hands is not just fun. It is the most effective teaching method available to you at that age. You do not need to follow up with a lesson. The question itself is the lesson. Your child's brain is doing something valuable just by searching for the answer. When they get it right, a quiet "exactly right" is all you need. When they're not sure, that is perfect too. Explore together. Now let us talk about the toy shop moment, because this one trips up a lot of parents. Your child points to something and says they need it. The instinct many parents have is to say, "We cannot afford that." It is understandable, but it actually closes down the learning rather than opening it up. Instead, try this. Look at what they are pointing to and ask, is that a need or a want? Give them a moment. Then follow with, what do we actually need today? You're not punishing them. You're handing them a framework for making decisions, and that is a far more valuable gift than whatever is on a shelf. This approach also quietly teaches something else, that choosing not to buy something is not the same as not being able to. It is a choice. And children who grow up understanding that spending is a series of choices, not just reactions to what is in front of them, are building the foundation of real financial awareness. Here is a simple activity you can do at home with children from about 4 to 6 years old. Gather a handful of pictures, either printed or cut from old magazines, showing things like a piece of fruit, a glass of water, a warm coat, a toy, a sweet treat, a comfortable pair of shoes. Make 2 piles, needs and wants. Let your child sort them. This hands-on sorting activity is grounded in exactly what child development research recommends for this age group. Physical, tactile, concrete experiences rather than sitting still and being told things. The act of picking up each card and deciding where it goes is engaging the part of their brain where durable habits form. You will very likely hit a gray area, and that is a wonderful thing. Shoes, for example, are they a need or a want? Well, a pair of shoes that keeps your feet warm and protected is a need. But the most expensive, most fashionable version of that shoe might cross into want territory. Do not insist on one right answer. The conversation that comes out of that question is the real lesson. Gray areas like this help children understand that the world is not always black and white, and that good financial thinking involves weighing things up, not just following rules. That skill will serve them for the rest of their lives. Now here is something many parents do not realize. One of the most powerful teaching tools you have is your own voice, talking through your own decisions out loud. Research from the Center for Parenting Education and from parenting experts working in child development confirms that children learn by watching and listening to the adults around them. So try this. Next time you're passing a cafe and you decide not to buy a drink, say it out loud. I want a coffee, but I do not need it. I have water at home. I will save that money instead. That one sentence, heard regularly, does more than any worksheet ever could. You are modeling real-life financial thinking in real time. And here is the flip side of that, which is worth being honest about. Research also shows that when adults use the word need loosely, as in, I need those new shoes or I need to get that, it genuinely confuses young children who are still learning the distinction. The language we use around them shapes the concepts they build inside them. This is not about being perfect. It is about being a little more intentional. You do not have to correct yourself every single time. But when you notice it and you say, actually, that is a want, not a need, isn't it? You are teaching something real in that moment. As your child grows, roughly from ages 8 to 14, you can raise the stakes in a very natural way. Let them help you sort a real shopping list before you leave the house. Which items are needs? Which are wants? Which ones are worth including this week? And which can wait? At this age, you can also start sharing real trade-offs you have made in family purchases. Not in a way that creates anxiety, but in a matter of fact, this is how we think about it way. We decided to buy the sturdy one rather than the stylish one, because we needed it to last, is a sentence that teaches budgeting, prioritizing, and long-term thinking all at once. If your child has a small amount of their own money, an allowance, a gift from a relative, anything, this is a wonderful opportunity. Before they spend it, invite them to think through, what do I need and what do I want? They do not have to split it. You're not enforcing a rule. You are inviting a habit of thinking before spending. Peer-reviewed research published in Frontiers in Education in 2024 confirms what many parents sense intuitively. Early exposure to financial education shapes children's attitudes and behaviors toward money management and lays a foundation for financial well-being in adulthood. We're not talking about making children rich. We're talking about giving them a way of thinking that will quietly work in their favor for decades. The single most important thing to know about teaching needs versus wants is this. It is not a lesson you teach once. It is a habit of conversation you build across dozens of small, ordinary moments. The grocery run, the toy shop, choosing what is for dinner, walking past a shop window. Every one of those is a door you can open with a simple question. You do not need a curriculum. You do not need a special kit. You need the same two words used consistently in the real world starting today. Need. Want. Ask the question. Listen to the answer. Let the conversation run. That is the whole method, and it works. If this gave you something useful, share it with another parent who might find it helpful. And if you have a moment that worked beautifully, a grocery store exchange, a toy shop conversation that surprised you, we would love to hear about it in the comments.